playing golf no more. He's 87.
Yeah, that's why I was like, wait, no.
Fresh Sports Hour, Monday, May 16th, 2022, episode 6.
May 17th in some places.
Yep.
Ready to go?
Hit me with the button. You know what button to hit?
Sure do.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
Let the beat drop.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome into the Fresh Sports Hour. I'm your best friend, Burt, here with Certified T.
Yo.
And back from vacation is Italy, Tony Rotten.
What's up?
Tony is back in town, ready to moderate, ready to run our shit. The only thing that Tony doesn't have up for us is the TikTok live feed, so we can see. If you could throw the TikTok live feed up in this little spot right here for us, Tones, that'd be fantastic. I've been doing that the last couple of weeks. We've been able to talk and communicate. You just gotta click on that guy there. Yeah, now you gotta go on TikTok.
I got you.
Yeah, there's been some good fan questions that have come in and stuff like that.
How's everyone doing?
Wherever you are, I hope it's beautiful because the weather here is pretty amazing right now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thunderstorms later, though.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Possible hailstorms.
Wherever you are, I hope it's beautiful because the weather here is pretty
Hailstorms. You just gotta click on live. You're already on it somewhere.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, hold
Yeah,
on.
you're up here. Just
I know. I got to, turn the volume off.
No,
though.
just click up here. On it somewhere.
Yeah, hold on.
No.
I know. I got to,
Stop.
turn the
you're
volume
talking.
off.
No, just click.
That's what I was trying to do.
I was getting so angry with you real quick because of the
No,
delay.
I was trying to
I was like, why are you repeating yourself? I mean, you're doing it wrong. I was getting so angry at you. Oh, that's hysterical. Oh, man.
Oh, I'm already getting killed.
All
I'm already getting killed in the chats.
right, Tony, get us going.
All right, guys. Starting off with basketball. Crazy playoff games have been happening, and but we need to talk about the 76ers, I think. Yeah, exactly. So we're talking about the 76ers. We got to talk about who's to blame for the series loss and what needs to change in the offseason. So who we blaming here? I mean, are we blaming Doc? Are we blaming Harden? I mean, where are we going with this? What's who's on the chopping block here?
Look, it's when something like this happens, and especially coming into the season with some questions and then answering those questions with James Harden, I think it is like a blame pie, right? But if there's somebody who gets the biggest part of the pie, it's the guy who constantly underperforms on multiple different teams. And some people probably think I'm talking about James Harden, but I'm not. It is Doc Rivers. I think just hearing his comments as well, like post game, just to read a quote from him. I worked my butt off to get this team here. When I first got here, no one picked us to be anywhere. And again, this year, the same thing. It just shows once again how tone deaf he is, and they were preseason ranked pretty high, and that was without James Harden, with the idea that Ben Simmons wasn't going to play. So their core was pretty much looked at as championship contender without adding James Harden, right? So him.
There's obviously one person to blame, and it is James effing Harden. My man has not, even Embiid said, when we got James Harden, we expected Houston James Harden, and he's not that guy no more. He is not that guy no more. Stephen A. Smith said it beautifully the other day. He was so angry at the fact he got up 2 shots in the second half of an elimination game. 2 shots! That Stephen A. Smith said Molly could get up and go to the NBA right now and get up 2 attempts.
Yeah,
how can it not be James Harden? He was talked about as one of the most prolific scorers that were going to be the most prolific scorers of all time. My man takes 2 shots in an elimination game. There is nobody more to blame than James effing Harden.
I get what you're saying there, but James Harden showed up small. Did Ben Simmons show up small last year? Did Embiid show up small when he went 0 for 11 to start off a game?
Ben Simmons cannot be compared to James Harden. Ben Simmons has
What
showed
about
up
Joel
small
Embiid?
since drafted.
What about Joel Embiid?
Joel Embiid is Joel Embiid.
What about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George showing up small, blowing a 3-1 lead?
What? We're not even talking about Philly no more.
No, because we're talking about teams that Doc Rivers coached.
Oh.
And we're talking about players that have shown up small underneath him. Everywhere he goes, it seems to happen, and he continues to just live off of that KG coached team.
Doc Rivers wasn't in Brooklyn. He looked pretty small in Brooklyn.
I'll give you that.
All right.
Do we go deeper here, guys? I mean, ownership, front office, culture in general. Is this, something that we can get into?
Yeah, I think, and that's why I said,
We got a Sixers fan that agrees with you partially. Their offensive sets were terrible the entire series.
Yeah, he doesn't understand how to make adjustments. I mean, you have James Harden who answered the question by saying, we ran our offense, the ball just didn't get back to me, right? And so, every single year there seems to be these questions about a Doc Rivers coach team, but I think you're onto something with the ownership group, right? You get rid of Elton Brand out of, a lead role, and you put in Daryl Morey, who's, trade happy and loves James Harden. He makes a bad trade, gets rid of Seth Curry. You bring in Doc Rivers to a championship aspiration team, a guy who's blown more 3-1 leads than anybody. And it goes back further than that. It goes to obviously their whole process. Don't get me
started with the Lakers, Jeff. So, that was last week's topic.
So their whole thing is it's a big problem, and I think it can be split anyway. I think it's mostly Doc Rivers. He thinks it's mostly James Harden, but I don't know if there's necessarily a wrong answer. But there might.
That's
be
a good question from Flying Frenchie too. Do we think the world made Harden bigger than he was?
Yeah, and so a lot of people here are Celtics fans, and this is what I was saying about Al Horford. There's this expectation that people are going to be a certain thing, and if they're not that, we hate on them. So Al Horford's first time around, people wanted him to put up 30 and 10 every day, but if he's going to give you 17, 6, and 5, and he's going to be the centerpiece for what you do from veteran leadership, that's good enough. Can we deal with Harden being a 20 and 13 guy and not a failure?
I have a quick question that nobody's bringing up, even the professionals out there on TV. Can it be discussed that Joel Embiid could be the problem? Because this is another closeout game that Joel Embiid showed up small for. I think this is the third closeout game that Joel Embiid showed up small for. And we've seen in the past, I mean, we can blame the fractured face on it. We can blame a lot of things. We can make the blame game. But this isn't the first time that Joel Embiid showed up small in a must-win game. And we're not talking about him at all.
Yeah, no, so he seems to get a pass, but I think it's a culture thing from the front office, but also with him. So if you listen to his quotes on Ben Simmons last year, kind of broke him mentally, and then you hear things that you don't typically hear from a superstar. Like you mentioned what he said about Harden. Everybody expected Houston James Harden, and he's not that player anymore. Do you say that about your all-star teammate? Him, in the playoffs that maybe we weren't good enough, we weren't tough enough. Him talking about Jimmy Butler, who you just lost to Jimmy Butler. He said, "That's my brother. I still don't know how we let him go. I wish we could have gone to battle with him." Those aren't things typically that your all-star MVP candidate player says. Every year when there's a loss, he's roasting players in his locker room. He's roasting the front office. He's talking about coaching. Where's the ownership for him? But I would chalk that up to culture and more towards the ownership group, and the people in power have to stop that stuff from coming out.
All right.
It's definitely a team game and a team effort, but we have seen before that one superstar person can bring a not-so-great team to the promised land. We have seen that before in basketball. So I'm not ruling out. I know that it takes more than one player to win, but in the grand scheme of basketball, what Luke is doing right now is really kind of one-player based. I mean, he's making his team better behind him and around him.
All right. So, Burt's going to get a Tony Rotten clap here. I am going to go with the fact that it's definitely on Harden here. One thing I have to say, though, and then we'll move on, is there a guy who actually goes up onto these podiums and goes, "Hey, this is my fault. It's on me"? I'm seeing Harden saying, "We ran our offense and the ball didn't get back to me." I hear Doc going, "I worked my ass off for this team. Nobody expected us to be this far." Is there anyone who is going to sack up and actually take blame here?
Not in this locker room, not in this front office. No.
Okay, then.
Not in the culture that this organization has built.
Well, then maybe it is a culture problem.
I forgot that Tony Rotten claps are back. I got to step on my game.
All right. So, of the remaining 4 teams in the NBA, who has the best chance to bring home a championship?
Look, it hurts me to say it. even though they've been my pick from the get-go. And like it's the Warriors. I'm in a little bit of a bind this next couple weeks because they're playing against Luka and my Mavs, which hurts me a little bit. But the Warriors are just, to me, they're too good. They're too battle-tested. And like when it comes down to it, I just don't see a mismatch anywhere in these remaining teams for them.
This guy's wearing gloves.
Do you also feel like you're in a little bit of a bind because of how much shit you talked on the Celtics and you still want that to come to fruition?
No. So look, I do. I'm a Celtics hater, right? And I'll never apologize for that. But I do think that I'm pretty realistic when it comes to the Celtics. And look, if they prove me wrong, Jaylen Brown.
The Celtics have the best chance of winning. There is no question who the easiest team to beat left in the league is out of the 4 teams, and it is the Heat. That is the by far, you could agree with me that if we had to sit down and break down the 4 toughest teams to beat, the Heat are 4th amongst these 4. So in that case, Celtics have the easiest road to victory. Yes, they have to go to Miami before they come home. They'll definitely win one in Miami, which will give them home court advantage. So I think the Celtics have the easiest chance, the best chance of winning. I do like the Mavericks a lot. Mavericks were a preseason pick of mine. I like to stick with it. But as far as the best chance to win, it is bar none the Celtics because they have the easiest team left and out of the 4.
Yeah, my question is like on paper they do, right? But what we saw is it's not necessarily about being the most talented team, right? They swept Brooklyn. But like that Bucks team, yes, they won the championship last year. But was that a scary team to you, like without Chris Middleton?
Scarier than the Heat.
Scary. So what do you think gave, obviously Giannis, but what do you think gave the Celtics the most problems in that series?
What do we think gave obviously Giannis?
But besides Giannis, right? It was their culture.
3-point shooting.
Well, it's
their will to win.
Yeah, it's their culture, right? Their championship culture in terms of just like always grinding, not giving up. They'll get into you defensively. They're rough. They play that Pat Riley style of ball, or now that Spoelstra style of ball, and we hope that the Celtics are battle tested enough from that Bucks series to get through that. But like the Heat are the ultimate rough and tough team. Like they're the new grit and tough
team.
Yeah, they're the new grit and grind in terms of like just the way that they play you. And I get it that some of the players don't look like that.
Celtics are the hardest playing team there is. They take bodies on. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. That is the Celtics right now. They are bashing. They're taking offensive charges. They're taking everything there is. The Heat is a cupcake. I said this from the get-go. Whoever run into the Heat out of this series is going to smoke the Heat. Maybe in 5. Yeah, possibly in 5. I assume in 6, but maybe in 5.
I know you haven't been high on them, but they have proved us sort of wrong.
How?
Look,
they beat Trae Young and the Hawks.
They didn't just beat them.
And they beat a James Harden-less 76ers team. And they got Joel Embiid a fractured face. The guy didn't even barely play. Like, they haven't played anybody yet.
But they made them look
Celtics
pretty
had the
terrible.
toughest run in the league.
I mean, come on.
Who had a tougher run?
Who
had a tougher run?
So you have a Brooklyn team who isn't even a team, right? They haven't
On
played.
paper,
they haven't played together.
They're in
right?
an 8 seed.
You have the championship team from last year, but without their second All-Star, without a 20-point per game guy.
They still got Giannis.
And what happened in that series is they were beaten up inside, and the games that they won, they shot extremely well from the 3. The games that they lost, they didn't shoot well from the 3.
That's because the Bucks forced them outside.
Because they are so tough. And that is what the Heat bring you. They're going to force you to take those
Okay,
threes.
Burt's getting a Tony Rotten clap. Go Celtics. Okay, you can call it a homer pick. You can call it whatever you want. I don't care. I'm bleeding green this year. Go Celtics. I don't care. Moving on. Swiftly along. What remaining player needs this championship the most on their resume?
Yeah, so this is a weird one. I'm going to get roasted for this, I'm sure. But
it is weird.
But it's Steph Curry. And I get it that he was part of the dynasty. I see the look on your face right now. He's already got rings. He's already proven it. But there's one thing left that he hasn't done. And you have to win a championship to do it. So he has rings. He was the only unanimous MVP of the league. What hasn't he accomplished? Finals MVP.
So that's why he needs it the most?
100%. The one thing that people continue to say about him, every person who says, look, he can't be an all-time great, what they say is Andre Iguodala was an MVP of the finals. Kevin Durant was an MVP of the finals. It wasn't even really his team in terms of when it
Our
came to
list
finals.
is Luka, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Teddy, let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Collectively,
Yeah.
how many championships do Luka, Jimmy Butler, and Jason Tatum have?
0.
And just by himself, how many does Steph Curry have?
Infinitely times more.
How many?
3.
So the man with 3 championship rings needs the championship the most.
Yes. To cement his
Do
legacy,
you hear how ridiculous that sounds?
It is the one
to
piece
cement
left.
his legacy.
It is the
He's
one
6
piece
years
left.
into his legacy.
I get it, but there's one piece
And
left.
so he needs it right now?
The window isn't going to be open forever.
The window's going to be open as long as they stay together.
There are people coming.
There's the 3 best shooters maybe in the NBA.
Well,
They just got Jordan Poole, and now Kuminga and James Wiseman.
Clay missed 2 years.
Pascal.
You gotta get it now. You got to get your
Stop
MVP
it.
now.
And by the
Stop it.
way, I just want to bring up to everybody that while we were going over this list, Burt felt the need to take 2 players because of how ridiculous Teddy was being with this. He had choices on this paper that he could have done. He could have taken Luka and Burt could have taken Tatum. It didn't go that way.
No, I obviously have to take Luka and Tatum. Like, obviously, Luka needs it the most.
Mm-hmm.
And Tatum's right behind it. Yeah. Tatum doesn't need it as much as Luka right now because Tatum is shown to us that he's a superstar. The reason Luka needs it, he's supposed to be the face of the NBA. Mm-hmm. And he's this is his year. He's right there on the cusp of being able to do it with one of the worst teams in the NBA on paper. Mm-hmm. And he's about to bring them to a championship and possibly lose it to the Celtics and Jason Tatum. So one of those 2 are in the need of a championship, and one of those 2 are getting them. That's why that is my pick.
Let me ask you a quick question. Luka, does anybody expect him to win a championship this year?
No!
Okay. Jason Tatum, how old is he?
25.
Jason Tatum is perpetually 18 years old.
Yeah. There's a nice meme about that. So these guys have years to do it. They haven't even hit their primes yet. They don't need championships right now. This man has one piece left to cement his legacy in a league where guys are coming for him. You just named a few there. And their teams aren't falling apart anytime soon, and they're only going to get better. They haven't hit their primes yet.
Coming for him in which way?
Nobody
is ever going to be as
better.
good of a shooter as Steph Curry was. Steph Curry is the greatest 3-point shooter of all time.
Correct.
That is cemented into legacy.
Correct. But he's still missing a piece. And if these teams are getting better and these guys haven't hit their primes yet, his chances of getting to a finals again go down every single year. As he gets older, as his ankles get older, as Clay, obviously 2 years out of the game, his chances get worse.
Okay, good. Tony Rotten claps for Burt there. Sorry, Teddy. Cementing his legacy, he's friggin' Steph Curry. I don't really know what else to say there. And then we have this, which remaining player has the most to prove individually. I'm confused about this question because I feel like we just went over that. Is this somewhere we still want to go, or do we
Teddy can give his pick, because his pick's a little different than everything else. I mean, you obviously know I went with Tatum and Luka. It's a common theme right now. Tatum and Luka has the most to prove. Tatum is really becoming a superstar before our eyes. Luka is becoming the face of the NBA like we want to see. So both those guys still got to prove it by winning a championship. That's why they need it the most.
Okay, so most to prove individually, you have your name next to Bam Adebayo. Talk about that.
Yeah. So, during the fake bubble season, Bam Adebayo really showed out. And he looked like he was going to be the face of the league as a big, right? We even questioned whether or not he could take the league from guys like Embiid and Giannis. And then he seemingly disappeared for a few years. He was playing well, but he wasn't dominating. And people really kind of stopped watching Heat games, and they weren't ultra popular even with adding Kyle Lowry and stuff like that. You've had players who have missed times in Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler. Bam Adebayo is going to have to step up in order for them to win.
Who the fuck picks a center to be the most to prove?
He absolutely has the most to prove.
He doesn't even have the most to prove on his own team.
So you're saying that Luka...
Jimmy Butler has more to prove than him.
So you're saying Luka has the most to prove, even though he has already proven with his
He
33-9-9
He hasn't proven yet.
that when big games
You're
happen,
not proven
he
till you
steps
won.
up.
You're not proven till you won. You know this. You preach this all the time.
So what is he trying to prove?
How many championships does the Lakers have?
So what is he trying to prove? Is he trying to prove that he's a superstar? Do we
Yes,
not
he's-
know that?
Until this year, we didn't know that. There's
I
a lot
did.
of people questioning it.
I mean,
Never won a playoff series.
I don't know who those people
His
were.
team isn't that good.
He was a front runner for an
Bam
MVP.
Adebayo isn't even the most to prove on his team. Jimmy Butler has so much more to prove than him. How does Bam Adebayo... Bam Adebayo's what, 22 years old, 23 years old? You just give the same argument in the last statement.
Yeah, he was
How do
going
you have
up
so much to prove at such a young age?
because he was accelerating his progress, right? And it was going up, and then you had the bubble season, and then he completely plateaued. And
Everyone plateaued after the bubble. Look at Tyler Hero. My man's still dishing it out in the playoffs, though, like he did last year.
now Tyler Hero won 6th Man of the Year. Ever since the bubble, he has been improving.
My bad.
He's been improving.
On to
Jason
the next
Tatum has
one.
been improving. Luka has been improving. All these guys have been improving. Jimmy Butler has shed all of the stuff about him being a toxic teammate that caused him to leave Chicago, that caused him to leave Minnesota, and that caused him to leave the 76ers. Those guys have proven it. Bam Adebayo, people thought he was going to be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate and an MVP candidate in a few years, and he plateaued and hasn't proved it. Now he's back on the biggest stage with an opportunity to prove it. That's without question. He's the most to prove. No question.
Okay. All right. Not bad. You know what? I'm going to give Teddy a Tony Rotten clap
I
there.
just get a pity.
I'm not exactly
pity
sure
point.
why.
I just get a pity rotten
You got a
clap.
pity point.
Sorry.
I think I got a. Is that better than no?
I didn't really know where to go with that. All right. So we're at the we're closing in on the end of basketball here. We got to go official prediction time here. Who are the two teams in the NBA Finals?
I'm gonna go Warriors, but I do think it's gonna take them 7 games. And I'm going to go with the Heat, and I think it's also gonna go 7 games.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm obviously sticking to a trend. I had the Mavs preseason. I got to stick with the Mavs. Celtics have shown me something that no team has really showed me in this postseason is that team basketball can outweigh any opponent's strengths. And they're playing some of the best team basketball that can be played right now, defensively, offensively. Marcus Smart on the bench talking to the team in the huddles. This team has really, really, really stepped up this year from January 1st. I don't know what happened. They all went on to Christmas. They all went out on New Year's Eve. They fought each other in the parking lots, and now they all came to an understanding. Jason Tatum's playing better than I've ever expected him to play. I was at the beginning of this saying that until Jason Tatum shows me something, we cannot say that Jason Tatum is a superstar. I'm standing here. He is a mother effing superstar. Superstars show up big time in fourth quarters and must-win games, and that's what my man did time in and time again. So I'm going Celtics, Mavs, Luka versus Jason Tatum. Whoever wins, it's not only going to be fantastic for the sport of the NBA, but the card market that we're in, the card market that gave us this platform, the card market that we have helped build, like the card market is going to love a Luka Jason Tatum matchup, and I think the world will too. That's why I'm going to go with it.
How many games?
Mavs win in 7, Celtics win in 5.
So, question about Luka: do you think it's going to be him who dominates, or do you think it's going to be the others who step up like they did last night?
Luka has a triple-double every night, just like he almost does every night.
Okay, and as you guys know, I'm a huge
30 plus, 10-10.
Yeah, huge Luka fan. I think this series looks a little different for him. If you remember LeBron James against the San Antonio Spurs back in the day, where they just had a body in Boris Diaw that worked against him, where he couldn't bully them anymore. I think they have that in Draymond Green. Luka will still get his, but he will be wildly inefficient.
Cool. All right. Very nice. Last but not least here, Burt has something that he really wants to talk about. Being super secretive about it, didn't want to bring it up till we came on the podcast.
Not so much like super secret, but when I find out something that Teddy doesn't already know, I like to keep it like in my back pocket because it's a nice little story. I didn't know this until I read it. Bismack Biyombo has not been in the league for the last 2 years, and it wasn't because he wasn't able to be in the league. It was because his father got sick with COVID. He went back to his hometown. I'd be mistaken if I guessed it, so I won't because of how great of a story it was. So he went back to his hometown to take care of his father. His father ended up passing. The only reason that he came back and left his mother and the rest of his family was because he wanted to build a hospital in his home country that his father wasn't able to have, and that's why he ended up dying of COVID.
Real quick, somebody fact check me, but I believe that is Congo.
So he ended up coming back, and he donated his entire year's salary to being able to build this hospital in his home country, so that way everybody can get the health they need, unlike his father wasn't able to.
That is absolutely.
You're
amazing.
absolutely right. It is in the Congo.
That is absolutely amazing.
So that's Bismack Biyombo's story, guys, and I really wanted to share that with you guys today. Once I read that, I thought it was a really cool story, and I thought it was a story that a lot of people wouldn't know. So I was excited to share that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I can't believe. Why? Can I? Okay. Can I just address something here? Why doesn't everyone know about this story?
Yeah, it happens a lot. It really does.
I mean, that is one of the coolest things I've ever heard.
Right?
It's beautiful, and it's like, why isn't that on every single highlight? That should be the first thing that pops up when I pull up, Sports Center on my phone or whatever.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, that's wild that that's not known more.
Is it just because he's like not that big of a name? I mean, he kind of is, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's made a lot of money. I think he's a fairly recognizable name. Well, he also has like a great name, Bismack Biyombo.
Yeah,
but I think some of it is like, they should want to push this stuff out because like there is a disconnect where we don't view athletes as like normal people.
Right.
And this is like how one of us would want to spend our money if we were in that situation. And we can absolutely like relate to that, having all of us, gone through COVID in our families and stuff like that. So that's a little crazy that it's not out there. I'm as shocked as you.
Bismack Biyombo gets a Tony Rotten clap, by the way.
I hope that it's
what a
because
badass.
like it's so new and so like they just got knocked out of the playoffs. Maybe the story just came out. Maybe someone just broke the news. So maybe it's still so new that we don't know about it yet, and we'll hear about it in a couple days on ESPN. They'll do a little thing or something. Maybe that's why. That could be the reason. But I just heard about it today. I just saw it. Something popped up on my Twitter about it, and I ended up reading it. I'm glad I got Twitter. But yeah, it was a really cool story.
Well, if anybody sees that, make sure you're sharing it.
Yeah.
So moving swiftly along to football, because we're in the United States of America, and it seems like we can't escape it.
Yep.
So
not football.
Football, and we're going to start out with a new segment here. New segment called News It or Lose It. Basically, I'm going to give you guys a news headline from the world of football, and you're going to tell me if it's newsworthy or it should just be chucked to the back of the room. So you're newsing it or you're losing it. And the first highlight here is Jarvis Landry signing with the Saints.
Yeah, I'm going to lose it. I view them as a fringe playoff team, and we have question marks about Jameis Winston. We have question marks about Dennis Allen. He last stint as a head coach was ugly, so I don't think Jarvis Landry gets them over the top here.
Absolutely news it, guys. We're talking about Jameis Winston being able to be the quarterback of the Saints, and if he's able to do it, we don't know the question marks about Michael Thomas and his injury status all the time. He could absolutely use a guy like Jarvis Landry, who used to be a stud wide receiver. Let's see if he can be resurrected with James Winston, Mr. Crab Legs himself, and possibly the new rumor of Drew Brees coming back.
Yeah, which is the next one. Drew Brees comeback rumors. News it or lose it.
Lose it again. The last time we saw him, he could barely get the ball 30 yards downfield with any velocity on it. Even if he did come back and his arm was rested, what is it going to be rested for? 6 games until he gets hit? I'm good. Lose it.
Absolutely lose it. There's no chance Drew Brees is coming back. No, 0 chance. Just like I told everybody that there was a 0 chance Tom Brady retired and stayed retired, there's a 0% chance Drew Brees comes back. 0.
Okay.
So lose that shit.
Cool.
He's just going to Amazon. You can news that.
Yeah.
News it or lose it. Sean McVay says, I really want OBJ back.
News it. I think like last time we saw like this experiment work, right? You bring in OBJ, he's unproductive. then he balls out in a big moment before obviously his injury happens in the Super Bowl. So
Stop.
Are you laughing at me? Did I say something wrong?
You gotta lose that shit, dude. How could you news it? Sean McVay's just saying that in case OBJ wants to come back, so he doesn't ruffle his diva ass feathers.
No,
it is absolutely lose it. Nobody gives a shit if OBJ comes back or not. He's most likely going back to Cleveland and Deshaun Watson, but Sean McVay's just saying that in case he likes the bullshit contract that they give him. Lose it. Goodbye. See you later.
All right. Up next, Colts open to adding Nick Foles as a backup to Matt Ryan.
So I'm gonna lose it just because we're talking about a backup here, but a little part of me wants to lose it a little bit because of Nick Foles' performance as a backup in Philly, and you have one veteran and you got a backup
wrong
there. I get
again,
it.
my friend. This is 100% news it. Big Dick Nick coming to town to back up Matt Ryan. You know Matt Ryan isn't getting you to the promised land. You know Matt Ryan is only going to play 4 or 5 games tops, and then they're going to be looking to make a trade, looking to do something to bring somebody in. If Big Dick Nick's sitting back there waiting for that job, he's going to take that job and bring the Colts to the promised land. That team is ready to win now, and they do not have a quarterback to do so in Matt Ryan. So if it's Big Dick Nick and not Jordan Love, it is. But they got to do something. And if it's Nick Foles, it's Nick Foles. You have to news it.
Cool. So the Dolphins media team putting out a tape of a massive underthrow from Tua to Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I'm gonna news it. I get it that these throws happen. That's what training camp is for. But like this is likely your best throw if your media team is putting it out. And we have questions about Tua's arm strength. And like they put this everywhere. Like that was their judgment call. Like this is the best of the bunch that we have. Let's put it out. And I just think this is going to end in a disaster anyway. So I'm going to news it.
Okay.
You can obviously news it just because of how bad you should lose it. That being said, the Dolphins did this on purpose. They trolled the fuck out of everybody. They knew everyone's like, oh, there's no way Tua's arm can throw to Tyreek Hill. So, like, hey, let's go show him that he can't throw the ball to Tyreek Hill. So they showed him not throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill. You think that was the best throw of the day? Stop it. A blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then, and the camera's on every single throw. So even if he can't make that throw, the blind squirrel finding a nut every now and then would have made the throw, and they would have had it captured, and they would have put it out if they wanted to. It's a multi-million-dollar facility with 45 cameras around the field. That is not the best throw of the day. Lose it, but you can news it for the trolling.
Okay. I'm going to throw a little bit of a monkey into this wrench here.
We like
okay?
monkeys and wrenches.
Is there any possibility that, and
Should be by the end of this week.
This is the Dolphins media team,
SGC.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I worked in media teams. I am right now working in a media team. Now, we like sports. We're into sports. We know how, we know what a good throw looks like.
Sure.
Some media teams are massive nerds who have absolutely no clue. And they'll just put a video out that is pushed to them and no questions asked. Could it be that this was just something that slipped through the cracks a little bit? They got pushed a bunch of throws, they had a bunch of good ones, and the media team pushed this one through with a little bit of an oopsie.
I do think it's possible just because that receiving core is pretty vast. So they were probably like, hey, go get a throw from Tua to Hill. So it's possible. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Just wanted to throw that out there.
I smoked you in that segment. This is a segment you created. I just smoked you in it.
I created it for you.
Jeff's asking about the Patriots. He has a couple questions about the Patriots.
Go for it. We have time.
Where did the Patriots finish? Do they finish second to last? The AFC is too strong for the Patriots. Are pretenders. Not that they're pretenders. I don't know that you can only call them pretenders because they're supposed to be. The New England Patriots are supposed to be great. I get them finishing dead last in the AFC East, to be honest. And I'll be at 3 games this year at least.
So
I'm a big Patriot fan.
I just saw something that came through on my phone. My buddy texted it to me. I don't know if this is new, but Matt Patricia is going to be taking over the offensive line.
Oh, I did not
for the New England Patriots.
That is weird. I did not know that. I think is that a rumor? I don't know.
I mean, Bill can say whoever is doing whatever, and we all know it's Bill.
It's still Bill's show. Yeah.
Coaching does not concern me.
I don't know if they're pretenders.
Really? Not at all?
No, because everybody's just doing whatever the hell Bill Belichick tells them to do. Like, whatever they say. He's not really coaching the offensive line. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and they're not reinventing the wheel like under his system. I don't know if they're pretenders.
Unless you're telling me Josh McDaniels came back.
This team is terrible. They're horrible, but they also have the greatest coach of all time. And
Bill we trust.
Yeah, and so can he split with the division? Yeah, he can split with the division. And then you have to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat, and you have an opportunity to make the playoffs.
Who are the teams you're supposed to beat this year?
Any team who has a coach that's on the hot seat. Any team that has a quarterback that isn't a Hall of Famer. Like, you need to claw and scratch, not make mistakes. If you're going up against a young quarterback, force him into mistakes. Like, this is the year that coaching really shows through.
Do the Patriots make the playoffs this year?
The Patriots make the playoffs this year. Yeah.
Man, I hope you're right. I don't see it happening.
I don't see it happening either.
And for the record, for me, it's not in Bill we trust. I am not a Patriots fan. I'm a Patriots hater. For anybody who doesn't know, but
that's why I hope he's right.
But this roster's terrible. This coach is phenomenal, and I think coaching is more impactful in football than anything else, any other sport. So I think they do find a way to get in.
That brings us great into the next part.
Yeah. So now that the NFL draft is complete and free agency is pretty much or almost dried up, which sophomore QB will have the best year this year? Best year overall?
Best year overall, like best comeback year to like last year's numbers and stats.
I'm saying best year overall. So
of these four, who's going to finish number one of these four?
Correct.
In the list is?
Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, and Justin Fields.
I got to take Zach Wilson. I think the Jets have a really good season this year. I'm still really pissed at them about the NFL draft because they didn't take the two guys that they were supposed to take with their first two picks. That really would have changed the whole landscape of the New York Jets. But I still think they have a really great season this season, considerably. I think Zach Wilson showed us a lot at the end of last year with Elijah Moore and Corey Davis and Michael Carter Jr. that adding what they added with Garrett Wilson at wide receiver, the big tight end, and Jeremy Rucker, a backup running back, and Bryce Hall. Like, I think what they added is enough with what they added on defense between free agency and the draft itself. So I think Zach Wilson ends up as the best quarterback out of these four. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Justin Fields just because of what he can do on his feet. Don't forget that Justin Fields is in Chicago.
Yeah.
So I that's why I can't put Justin Fields up on the list, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Yeah, he might be like the most talented in terms of being able to do the most things out of all of them. But yeah, like you said, Chicago. Just quick shout out to Jeff, who is also a Pats hater. Love you, brother.
Hi, Jeff.
And Zach Wilson isn't bad. It's weird because they did address defense in the draft.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. Actually, Jeff, I got something for you. Hold on. Jeff's a bitch.
Wow. They have the soundboard ready for you. Don't worry.
Sorry, just had a convenient name, Jeff.
Sorry, the only thing that you did wrong there was that your name was Jeff, and we have a drop specifically for that name.
You said you hated the Patriots.
Yeah, that's fair.
I love answering the phone live on air.
Oh,
right, hold on, guys. TV timeout. Hello, this is Fresh Pulse.
Oh, we can't hear.
To lift our spirits and give us a taste of summer.
Oh, it's the city.
Oh,
it's summertime. The city's letting me know it's summertime. Thank you, city.
Jeff, I'm more of a hater now. I love it. Let's keep that hate going. I love it. But yeah, back to that. Yes. Zach Wilson is a good pick because they did address defense, which does help your quarterback.
Could have
obviously
addressed defense so much more.
And yeah, they could have.
Why didn't they take Kyle Hamilton?
Yeah.
Why didn't they listen to my pre-draft podcast?
It's wild.
Sorry, go ahead.
And then they did get like great value picks, like in terms of where people had the players ranked, running back, wide receiver, tight end, like where they had them ranked, like they made good value picks.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go with Trevor Lawrence, and his offense wasn't bad to start with. They just had Urban Meyer running the show. Now they bring in Doug Peterson, a guy who played quarterback, who is a player's coach, who coached Carson Wentz before the injury and won a Super Bowl there in Philly with Nick Foles. And he just understands quarterbacks. And then, yes, Christian Kirk was an overpay in free agency, but he's still a quality wide receiver, even though they paid too much for him. He's still there. Zay Jones, they grabbed Evan Ingram at tight end. So, their entire offense is talented, and they have the right guy running the show. So I think that he finally shows kind of why he was the number one pick and why everybody loves him.
I have to address something here, though, and maybe you were going to bring it up, but Mac Jones is on this list.
Yes.
And he had far and away the best season last year of any of these guys.
Yes.
Okay. Why are we leaving him off of? I mean, why did both of you leave him off of your? I'm just interested in that.
We're asking who's going to have the best year. I don't think, as I said in the previous statement, I don't think the Patriots are a playoff contender team this year. I don't think that they even win the AFC East. I just don't see enough in Mac Jones that makes me think that he was as good as the numbers last year.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think he can actually have a worse year statistically, and the team can actually perform better. Less is sometimes more. You saw it with early Tom Brady, where it was you had quarterbacks that were throwing for 35 touchdowns, stuff like that, and he was right around that 25 touchdown, 13 interception, 28 touchdown, 14 interception, and it was more than good enough because they relied on certain things. So his numbers don't always have to be there. If the Pats are going to contend, it's going to be as a team and not necessarily relying heavily on the quarterback. So what he did last year was great, but he could actually have a worse year and the team could perform better.
My bold prediction of the year, by the way, gentlemen, Trevor Lawrence, 30-plus touchdowns, 10 under interceptions, and wins regular season MVP.
Yeah, I was actually going to piggyback on the fact that Teddy picked Trevor Lawrence. I think he definitely comes into his own next year.
He beats out Josh Allen because of what MVP really stands for, and that's why he ends up winning MVP over Josh Allen. Josh Allen wins Super Bowl MVP, though, guys.
Wow. Looks like Jeff might be back on your good side. He said the Jags going to surprise the NFL. So
I think this could be the year. Yeah, everyone's going to be sleeping on Trevor Lawrence just because of last year, and I don't think that's the true Trevor Lawrence.
All right. Cool. So we're moving right along here. We going hockey?
Let's go hockey real quick. We never go hockey.
We never go hockey.
5 Game 7s in the first round of the NHL playoffs.
Yeah.
If you're an NHL diehard, that's like Christmas.
Even as not an NHL diehard, right. I still think one of the most exciting things in sports is a Game 7 in NHL. And the most exciting thing that could possibly happen in a Game 7 of NHL is overtime of a Game 7 of NHL. And 2 of those happened in the games yesterday. That is remarkable to me that we got 5 Game 7s and 2 of them went into overtime all in the first round. What's left in store for us?
Yeah, it's first of all, it's pretty wild. As somebody who doesn't watch hockey, I really found myself unable to pull myself away from the TV. Mm-hmm. And what I came away thinking was that it is a real shame for people who are massive fans of both basketball and hockey, because both of these playoffs have been phenomenal. Obviously, if you're a Boston fan of both sports, it's been a little bittersweet. But that was my takeaway, was there was just so much going on that was just so overwhelmingly positive, with all of the games over the weekend, that I found myself not knowing what to do with my time.
Yeah,
and it was the first round.
Yeah.
The first round. Yeah. That's an exciting first round.
Unfortunately, the Bruins didn't get to win their Game 7. I got Avalanche versus the Oilers. I got them 2 winning, and then I got Lightning and the Rangers winning. That's my Western East Conference championship.
And we can't discount the fact that we got a battle for Florida, okay? Because we got the Florida Panthers and the Lightning, so that's cool.
That's gonna be fun.
And then we have a Canadian rivalry in the Flames and the Oilers.
Yeah, Connor McDavid.
Yeah, that's huge. The Blues and the Avalanche absolutely hate each other. That's an underrated rivalry in the NHL. It's not Bruins Habs, but it's pretty good. And then Rangers and Hurricanes, which are turning into a rivalry. So if you're in
a fun second round.
I mean, you got it coming. It's awesome.
Yeah, and you might not get that dead time that we usually get, like coming up in a couple weeks, because there's so much going on, so many storylines going on that this stuff could continue on for a little while. I'm gonna go ahead and make my uneducated picks. I think Calgary goes all the way, and I think they beat Tampa Bay, and I think they beat them easily.
I think that's a solid pick.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
And Canada's hungry for a ship.
Yeah, I got Calgary beating the Lightning, and I think it happens quickly.
Calgary beating the Lightning in the finals?
Yeah.
No, there's no chance Avalanche or Oilers don't get to the finals. Avalanche are the best team in the NHL.
I guess we'll see, right?
There's 0% chance that nobody besides the Oilers beat the Avs. But that being said, if you're asking me the champions, I got Connor McDavid squeaking one out against the Avalanche. I think the Avalanche are the best team in the NHL, going against the Rangers in the finals, and whoever comes out, Oilers or Avs, win.
Is there such thing as like a best team in the NHL? Like I
yes,
obviously
it's
don't
the best
watch
team in the NHL.
Don't watch a ton of hockey, but like it doesn't really come down to like which goalie is standing on their head at the moment.
Yes,
for the most part, like
it's called the
of course. I mean, but
like more than other sports.
Hockey, you're right. Hockey is very much a game of momentum.
Yeah,
and a team that did not do well in the regular season or early in the playoffs can catch fire and really move on. Yes, but I do think that there are teams that are just far and away better at doing that than other teams in keeping the momentum going. And I think that Canada's hungry for a championship. So I'm saying watch out for Calgary and Edmonton.
All right, so quick golf talk, quick golf topic, and then I'm going to turn over the mic to Responsible Rob and the rest of you guys to close it out. I'm going to go have a convo with Spriggs. But quick golf talk, I read a quick, cool little article that Jack Nicklaus, the 87-year-old dude, the guy that was like the superstar, the guy that helped like the PGA Tour and all that stuff, turned down a $100 million offer from Saudi Arabia to go be the face of their new knockoff PGA Tour that they're trying to do.
Wow.
So they're trying to do a knockout. Somebody else, Greg Newsom, maybe, Greg something or another, went and took over as Jack Nicklaus. But yeah, they're starting a 10-series thing. It's 7 matches and then a playoff. But it's playoffs. But yeah, it's Saudi Arabia's knockoff of the PGA Tour, and they asked Jack Nicklaus to do it for $100 million to be the face of it.
That's interesting because like $100 million is like a lot of money, especially like, obviously.
But when you're 87 years old, what the fuck are you going to do with $100 million?
So my question is, did you turn it down because of the love of the game, or did you turn it down because you're like, this isn't worth the effort, like I'm rich already?
It ain't going to be worth the throwback that comes at me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting
On that
one.
note, Burt is out of here. I love each and every one of you guys. Quick baseball topic. Maybe Rob has it on his notes. I'll lead off with this while we get Responsible Rob. Did you see the Mookie Betts thing this weekend?
I did not see the Mookie Betts thing this weekend.
So it might not have been this weekend. It might have been earlier. You know how TikTok time works.
Yeah.
So somebody hit their first hit. It was a home run. And immediately Mookie Betts knew that it was his first ever hit, and it was a home run ball. So he went to the stand. I need the ball. Got the ball back immediately. Promised the fan that he'd give him something else in return. Got the ball back through, and then gave the kid his first ever hit/home run ball. Wow. Mookie Betts came back out in the outfield the next inning and gave the baseball fan his bat.
That
a
is
Mookie
amazing.
Betts signed baseball bat for some kid's first home run ball. But the story behind it and the moral and the whole thing of the story was Mookie Betts' wherewithal to know that, because a lot of the time it takes days, it takes times, it takes weeks. There's people chasing him down. They're trying to find the guy. They don't always get it.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts had the wherewithal to know, I have to get that ball for this young kid because he's going to want to remember this forever.
That is cool.
Mookie Betts a legend.
He's a class act. He really is.
So looks like we're already getting Rob welcomed in here. Flying High Frenchie says, "Hey Rob, what it do?"
What up, Flying High? What up, Frenchie?
Yeah. So do we want to jump right into to Rob's responsible recap?
Yeah.
All right.
I think so. Let's do it.
It looks like he has a recap all written up, which is very responsible
indeed.
of him.
Very responsible.
You can show the camera. I have it all written down. We're ready to go.
Let's do it.
Do it.
So,
Cap my re.
So I've been saying it this year a lot. You guys have heard it on the podcast. I've been saying it in the shop. But in baseball this year, it has been the year of the veteran. Oh, yeah. I love it. I love everything about it. You have guys like Miguel Cabrera out there still hitting the ball like there's no tomorrow. Justin Verlander came back after missing almost 2 seasons from Tommy John surgery, and he's pitching like there's no tomorrow. Albert Pujols yesterday made his major league pitching debut. In his 21st season. Granted, the Cardinals were up 15-2 at the time, and he did surrender a 3-run homer. But we saw a goat get to pitch. How many times do we get to see that where a guy like Albert Pujols has had a storied career, and then they're like, hey, get out there on the mound. Let's throw you out there for an inning to save the bullpen. I love that move. I love everything about it. I love what the Cardinals are doing this year. And piggybacking off of that, Adam Wainwright and Yadier Molina made MLB history, recording their 203rd win as battery mates.
Jeez.
Let's break that down for a second. Let's look at the numbers here. So starting pitchers pitch every 5 days, on average, every 5 games. Mm-hmm. So 203 wins. If you won every single start you made, that's 1,015 games. That's more than 6 full seasons.
Oh, my goodness.
If you pitched every single game.
Yeah.
Most guys don't even have careers that long.
That's wild.
And Wainwright and Molina have had that many wins, with Wainwright pitching and Molina catching.
The year of the vets, baby.
The year of the vets. I mean, we just see these numbers continue to fall. Miguel Cabrera recording 3,000 hits and 500 home runs. It's just Clayton Kershaw setting the Dodgers franchise strikeouts record. It's just, I love it. I think it's great for the game, and I think it's great for the fans watching the game, too. In other news, how about the Pittsburgh Pirates getting no hit and still winning?
Yeah, it's wild. I heard about that this morning. I was like, how?
To me, that is a perfect encapsulation of the season that the Cincinnati Reds are having.
It's just a perfect encapsulation of baseball.
Yeah,
I don't think
I don't
think baseball
sport.
exists. I don't think it exists.
Yes.
I really
There's
don't.
no
It's like
sport.
Australia. It's not a real thing.
Or
Right.
the Rams salary cap. Yeah, these things just don't exist.
There's no other sport where that kind of thing could happen. I mean, in football, you can't have where a quarterback completes 0 passes and still wins the game. The Patriots almost did it. Mac Jones completed 2 passes and they won.
But he had to get something.
But he had to get something. In NBA, you can't miss every single shot you take and still win a game. We saw that yesterday with Giannis and Chris Paul and the entire Suns team.
Ugh.
In hockey, you can't have a goalie miss every single shot and still win a game.
Yeah, it's wild.
Sorry, I should say a goalie miss every single save opportunity.
Yeah, and win a game. It's wild.
Baseball, I think, is the only sport where you could not get a single hit the entire game
Baseball's
and still
so weird.
win.
It's so
confuses
weird.
And look, to all the Cincinnati Reds fans out there, I'm sorry. Like, this is the epitome of the season you guys are having so far, and I really do wish success for you guys.
I don't. Hold on a second. I'm going to cut you off real
Not
quick.
necessarily this year, but just in general. I like Joey Votto deserves better.
Yeah, and Unity Cards, we're going to talk a little bit about how it happened, but just real quick, I don't feel bad for you Cincinnati Reds fans. In fact, we will be introducing a segment in which we track exactly how bad they are and if they are on pace to be the worst team in baseball history. So I don't feel bad.
Yeah, we are going to be addressing that.
Yeah, the worst team I ever saw was the 03 Tigers, and these Reds might be worse. So, yeah, just a quick tidbit.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, the Reds are actually on pace to set the record for most losses in a single season. In the modern era, we're talking post 1900. If you go before that,
Oh, yeah. Before they used gloves and had cars.
exactly.
When everybody was still riding on horseback.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not that bad.
And just to kind of close out the headlines, and this will roll into the next little bit I have, the Yankees took over the top spot on the power rankings, and deservedly so. They had a 5-game or 6-game win streak. I want to highlight this. Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton this year are playing out of their goddamn minds. It's like we've never seen them before. We know they can hit the ball and hit the ball well.
When healthy.
But they're taking it to a new level. In the last 15 games, which is since April 26th, combined, Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are hitting .356 with 17 homers, 44 RBIs, 30 runs scored, and 13 walks.
That is insane.
In 15 games.
That is
I
insane.
mean, these are power numbers that we just haven't seen from a single player, let alone a duo on the same team in a long time. So really, the Yankees are putting together a fantastic season. They're 16 games over 500 already. They're 25-9.
Jeez. So how did that happen? How did they win this game?
The Pirates?
Yeah.
So it was a series of walks.
It was walks that did it.
Yeah, and hats off to Hunter Green. He was making his 7th career start for the Cincinnati Reds. And he pitched 7 in the third, no hit innings.
Huh.
So just walks, not even an error?
So what happened was Green recorded the first out in the 7th inning and then walked a batter. Oh, sorry, I think he walked the leadoff guy, then got the first out, then walked another batter, and he was done. So first and second, relief pitcher comes in, gives up another walk. Bases loaded, 1 out. Cabrian Hayes comes up. And he hits a slowish ground ball to second base. And I guess the second baseman decided that he didn't have enough time to try to get the out at home, so he tried to turn a double play to end the inning. Got the out at second, the relay to first was slow. So it's a fielder's choice. It's not a base hit. It's not an error. Just a fielder's choice. He was safe at first, and the run scores. Next guy fly it out, and that was the end of the 8th inning. And then the Pirates closer came in and shut it down in the top of the 9th. And there you go. You have a 1-0 win on a no-hitter.
And that's baseball. And
that's baseball.
And you know what? I'm gonna be really nerdy here for a minute, but I like Star Trek. Okay, I was watching an episode of Star Trek, and it's funny because one of the captains, Benjamin Sisko, he's obsessed with baseball, right? So he's talking to these aliens, and he's talking to them about like what he does for fun and stuff like that, right?
Sure.
And he says that he goes into the holodeck and he plays baseball for fun. And the aliens go, "What is baseball?" And he looks at them and he goes, "I was afraid you'd ask that."
Yeah.
And that sums up baseball.
Yeah, it perfectly sums up baseball.
It does. And look, you guys know that I'm a diehard baseball fan. I could watch every single game every single day and be perfectly content. The Mets game was already postponed for tonight, and I'm devastated. I won't get to watch the Mets tonight.
No.
I know, but it's fine. They have a doubleheader tomorrow.
All right, so we get
So
to
I'll-
meet the
I'll
Mets
get-
tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll get double the baseball tomorrow. But I will say that it is such a quirky sport in every single sense of the imagination.
That's why
it's
it's
just
honestly
wild.
it's something that I like. I like it because in what other sport will you see a team having fun like putting Albert Pujols on the mound?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like no other sport has fun like that.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? Because you have such a long season, you
And-
got big leads, and you're like, I'm just gonna play
And I mean,
around.
There's
exactly.
just so much potential for oddities and
Mm-hmm.
like weird things to happen. Like Christian Yelich hit for the cycle last week, which was the 3rd time in his career that he's done it, tying the major league record. And all 3 times he's done it, guess which team he's done it against? The Cincinnati Reds.
of course.
And this is something that you got to tell little kids, like kids who do nothing but number crunch, who just want to see numbers and big time players and stuff. Put that to the side when you're watching baseball.
Yeah.
Watch it for the story. Watch it for the
stories
funny
and
stuff,
just
the
for
fun
the weird
stuff.
things.
Yeah.
Like no one in baseball history has hit 3 cycles against one team, and
Right.
Christian Yelich did it last week.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that is just so cool. Put all that aside and just listen to the storylines. That's how you enjoy baseball.
Well, we
Yeah.
also see it in the card market as well, right? Like you're playing this game of like prospect cards and all of this stuff that does end up being fun in what we do as well. That's a little less straightforward than just going out and getting like the top rated, rookie quarterback because without question that like they're going to start from day one and stuff. So there are these oddities that happen that does make it interesting, and it kind of makes you become a fan. If as long as you're not just in there crunching numbers like you said. So while you were gone. We started a new little segment in baseball because what's happening right now is New York and LA are absolutely dominating. And like the power rankings just kind of keep flipping between them. So every week,
It got better this week.
Yep. So every week we have Responsible Rob in here to say if he was, choosing a city, which one would he rather be right now?
Doing it as unbiasedly
Gotcha.
as I can.
And if he's biased, we're gonna poke holes.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you mentioned the card market and the hobby right before this because that was actually part of my notes for the LA Angels. You guys got to look at Taylor Ward. He doesn't have enough plate appearances to qualify for league leaders just because he had to earn his starting time. But if he did, and keep in mind, he's only 2 plate appearances away from qualifying for the league leaders.
Oh, okay.
So he'll have it within the next day or two, depending on if he sits or starts. But his batting average, on base percentage, and slugging percentage would all lead the major leagues
Whew.
right now. He's batting .375. His on base percentage is like .480. It's ridiculous. So Taylor Ward for the LA Angels, just grab his cards now while you can. You can get his Topps Chrome rookie auto for like $40 on eBay.
Your price today may not be your price
Your
tomorrow.
price today may not. It is not going to be your price tomorrow. He's going to keep playing well. I like the way that kid plays, and he's playing on a team that's winning.
Yeah.
And that always helps. So, looking at New York or LA this week, the power rankings are just getting better and better. The Yankees and Dodgers. So last week we had Dodgers at 1, Yankees at 2, Mets at 3, and then the Angels came in at 8.
Mm-hmm.
This week the Yankees and Dodgers flip-flopped. The Yankees moved up to 1, Dodgers are at 2, Mets are still at 3, but the Angels moved up to 5th. So now you got all 4 teams in the top 5. And it's just, I love what's going on right now.
It's getting tight.
Recapping this past week, the Mets went 3-3. The Yankees went 6-1. They had that big winning streak. The Dodgers went 2-5.
Yeah,
they showed they were
skid.
human,
Yeah.
and that's why they dropped to 2nd from 1st, and why the Yankees vaulted them. And the Angels went 4-2. So everybody's playing well. And looking at the week ahead, there's some really good matchups. The Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers all play 7 games this week. They play every day. The Mets have 4 at home against the Cardinals and 3 away in Colorado in a hitter's park against the Rockies. That bodes well for them.
Yeah.
The Yankees have 4 in Baltimore and 3 at home with the White Sox, ending in Sunday Night Baseball, which is a great matchup. I love that weekend matchup. The Dodgers are at home for 4 against Arizona, and then away in Philly for 3. Those are favorable matchups for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And the Angels have 3 away in Texas at the Rangers, and then 3 home against Oakland. So we got some really good matchups and really favorable matchups for all 4 teams this week.
So who you going, LA or New York?
Who would you rather
This
be?
week,
Moment of truth.
based on last week and the week ahead, I got to go with New York again this week. I went with New York last week.
Get out of the studio.
Look,
Immediately
no,
exit
hey,
the studio.
Hey,
I agree
hey.
with him here.
T said we're going to poke holes, not get out.
Yeah, that is
So,
true.
so the reasoning
Why
is
don't you
that
poke a hole in the door and crawl through it?
I was worried about this.
Yeah.
As I watched the Dodgers melting down over the week, I was like, oh no.
And that's just the thing. The Dodgers showed that they're human. And look, to be fair, the Mets showed that they're human too.
Yeah.
They lost 2 out of 3 to the Mariners this weekend, and that was the first series that they've lost this season.
Yeah, and they still found a way to come out 500.
They've
this
played
week.
10 series this year. They've won 8 of them. They split 1, and this was the first one they lost.
Yeah.
So even though the Mets showed that they were human, I still believe in them more. And as you said, they came out 500 for the week, whereas the Dodgers had a losing slide, and they finished 2-5 for the week.
Yeah.
That's not what you want to see out of a team that's vying for the best record in baseball.
So if you were going to do some quick math for us, what the records were for the combined LA teams and the combined New York teams for the week, just so that we can have an idea of you not being biased. Let's hear it.
From the past week,
Yes.
quick math: the New York teams went 9-4,
Okay.
and the LA teams went 6-7.
All right. So there it is. I mean, for the week, I get it. I understand.
Got to go with New York. And also, just based on the way that the Yankees are playing, even if the Mets come out 500 from last week, I think the Yankees are just way too good right now. They're looking like a really solid team.
Yeah, and I think in terms of talent, like that's always going to be there. I think the question mark is exactly what we all think is like, how long will Aaron Judge stay healthy for? And I think that's the question. And then like what happens from there? Because what seems to happen over the last few years is their injuries come in bundles, right?
Yeah.
And they just get torched. So it's like
and that
then the
usually
other.
happens with teams.
Yeah.
That's a trend that you see, I would say, all across sports, not just baseball.
Yeah.
Once one injury happens, it's like, oh, everybody's got the bug.
Yeah.
It goes around like a stomach flu.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, even aside from Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, Nestor Cortez has emerged as a potential favorite for the AL Cy Young Award. he's the one who went 8 1/3 or 8 2/3 no hit last week, and he had another great outing this past week too. So the Yankees pitching is there too, not just the hitting.
I'm with you, Jeff. He said exit left. Go Dodgers. I think that
Look, all
it's
due
gonna
respect
switch
to the
LA
Dodgers.
Listen,
all due respect.
or you could just root for a team from a city who has the balls to only have one team. Maybe you could just do that.
No,
Huh?
I'm gonna
maybe
disagree.
maybe that's something that happens.
Nah, I mean, like I get it. I get it when you're
Maybe.
in like a small. I get it.
Maybe.
I get it when you're in
Maybe.
a small area. I get
No.
it. It's a small area. I understand.
Yeah.
One goddamn team.
Look, so I will say, having grown up in and now lived in places that have two teams and also one team, there are really cool aspects of both. And we actually just saw this last night in New York with the Rangers. Mets players, Giants players, and Jets players all came to
they were all
Game
to the
7
game.
at the Garden.
Yeah.
And I love when a team rallies, when a city rallies around a team like that.
Yeah.
And
And I think
they kind of
sometimes
put the
they-
rivalries aside for a moment.
Well, also I think sometimes those teams can get split a little bit too, like along some of the like blue collar versus uppity like lines and stuff like that, which can create some cool dynamics in sports as well.
It can, absolutely. So I love seeing when cities with multiple teams come together like that. And I also love seeing cities like Boston, where the entire city was behind the Celtics for Game 7 yesterday. And that was...
You had to be.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course you
Yeah.
had to. Of course you had to be. And that's... No, I'm not saying there's anything bad about either one. I'm saying there are pros to each of them. And they're just different... they're different settings to be in.
Yeah, I knew Boston had it once they made Tony a fan. So when they made him
Yeah.
love basketball, I knew
I
they had
bleed
it.
green now, baby.
There we go.
So are we moving on to? You want to do some UFC?
I just want to highlight.
Oh,
one
yeah,
thing
sorry.
real
Go ahead.
quick. Last thing I want to say about baseball before we move on, I wanted to highlight a couple of matchups to watch this week.
Oh right, yeah.
Some
Yes.
games to look out for. I already mentioned a couple of the series already, but the Cardinals at Mets. Last time they played each other in St. Louis a couple of weeks ago, there was a bench clearing brawl.
That's
So
one
this
to
is
watch for
definitely-
sure.
Love that.
This is definitely one to watch out for. There's going to be some chirping back and forth, starting with a doubleheader tomorrow, and then 2 more games Wednesday and Thursday. So
yeah.
it's going to be a fun series. Definitely watch out for those Thursdays and afternoon game too. So throw it on while you're at work if you've got nothing else to do. This weekend, White Sox at Yankees. As I mentioned before, culminating in Sunday Night Baseball in New York. What could be better?
Oh yeah.
You've got the White Sox who are showing signs of being a good team. Not necessarily at the top, but they've got a prolific offense and good pitching.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great matchup, especially for Sunday Night Baseball. And another weekend series I want to highlight, the San Diego Padres and San Francisco Giants. We've talked about them before, about chasing down the Dodgers in the West.
Yeah.
This is going to be a pivotal matchup to see which one of those teams it's going to be. And the Padres are coming off freshly signing Robinson Cano, who was cut by the Mets last week or the week before. So we'll see if he can add any offensive spark to their lineup. So those are 3 series that I would definitely want to watch out for this week if I'm any sports fan, not just a baseball fan.
Awesome, Rob. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me.
We're gonna actually keep you for the F1 segment.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm gonna skip over the UFC this week. There was just one weird thing that happened. Yeah, it was very weird. Dana White announced that UFC pay-per-view numbers are down, and so I will touch on that next week as to why I think it's happening, because we're talking about a sport that grew massively over the last 2 years, and it's always been illegally streamed. So that isn't a reason why, but I have some thoughts on why. So I'll be bringing that to you guys next week on the show.
All right.
But
All right. So if we're talking about F1, we got to talk about Lewis Hamilton, right? And this
How could you not?
This beef that he's having with the FIA,
Yeah.
is it good or bad for the sport? All this type of stuff. So for those of you who don't know the situation, the FIA, which is the governing body of F1, is now, after a very long time of not enforcing the rule of drivers,
It's 16 years, right?
16 years of them not being able to wear jewelry. It's in the rule book. It has not been enforced for 16 years. And all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, they have decided to now make this an issue. bring it to the forefront. Lewis Hamilton is not exactly for or against it. He just kind of has some questions as to why it's being brought up now, and rightfully so. And my prediction of this whole thing, honestly, is I think it's to get American audiences who, as we know, love drama, love reality TV,
And love freedom. Yep.
Oh, it's completely a PR stunt.
America.
It's completely a PR stunt.
I think it has to be a PR stunt. That's
Has
why
to
I don't
be.
want to spend too much time on it.
Yeah,
just because
I don't think we need to dive too far into it.
I think it's something that that they think American audiences probably want. It's working.
Yeah.
Okay, they brought it up
yeah.
during the Miami Grand Prix.
Exactly.
Surprise,
And-
surprise.
Exactly.
Timing is everything.
You're right. And that turned into a meme race in and of itself.
Yeah, him, during that press conference with all of those chains, rings on every finger,
Yeah.
all of his
Earrings, watches.
Yeah.
It's just a good
decked
picture.
out.
It's just a good picture.
correct
For the newspaper, for the for a website or whatever.
Geez, the
Wait,
1940s.
Well,
are calling.
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, see? Got all that jewelry on, see? But yeah, it's definitely something that I think F1 is just trying to get into the American market a little bit more with, starting with, I almost think that the whole thing of them making that fake harbor in Miami and stuff with they made the water look fake or whatever.
Yeah.
There's part of me that thinks that that's part of it, that they knew it was going to look like crap and they just wanted to be made fun of because no press is bad press at this point.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I think this is great for them. My only question or problem would be he has threatened to go as far as not racing, which I don't think will happen. But is that something that we would be willing to give up, as the most recognizable sort of face in the sport?
Right.
If this isn't a PR stunt and that's the hill that he chose to die on, would it still be a net positive for the sport?
No, because if this is not a PR stunt and Lewis Hamilton walks away because of this, I mean, that's huge. That doesn't speak favorably to Lewis Hamilton or the sport of F1. I don't think anybody wins there.
But is it a young man's sport in the sense that Lewis Hamilton's been around for so long? He's not old. What is he, 36?
He's 38, I think. 38.
Yeah. But some of these racers who are bursting onto the scene, those are going to be the people that you would think that some of the American fans that are coming on now, we like the young prospects and all of that stuff. Would it necessarily be the worst hit as now you're making a transition from the old face to the new faces?
I don't think it would end things simply because the Americans do not have a connection to Lewis Hamilton that people in Europe do, and
and
diehard
the people in Europe who will still watch.
They're
it
not going to
regardless
not
of
watch
Lewis
it.
Hamilton, yeah,
right. So we don't have that attachment to him because we haven't been around that long.
Yeah,
I mean, there are people who have, but
we didn't grow up watching him race.
No.
We grew up watching Tom Brady. If Tom Brady all of a sudden was like, that's it, I'm done playing because the NFL made this rule or whatever,
Right.
and I can't unretire, or whatever, I mean, we'd still watch football, but it would be a little different because we grew up watching Tom Brady play.
Yeah.
But
We didn't grow up watching Lewis Hamilton race.
Yeah, and also don't forget, Lewis Hamilton is. This is kind of his thing. He's always been kind of like a subversive. What do I want to
controversial
say?
type,
Controversial. There you go.
figure,
Sorry,
yeah.
brain fart. Controversial guy. Anyway, so this isn't anything new.
Yeah, it's
in that
on
scene,
brand.
everybody here is going like, but no.
Yeah, it's pretty on
This
brand
is
for him.
something that's
But
been
I
going
agree
on.
with him. I think players should be allowed, racers should be allowed to wear at least a little bit of jewelry.
If you want.
If it's like religious pieces or a wedding band or
Yep.
something, I don't think it should be extensive or ostentatious by any means. Because the FIA cites racers' safety as the reasoning for
Right.
enforcing this law now. And I agree with the FIA in some sense that if you've got 3 chains around your neck and you're in a crash, it could be incredibly catastrophic.
Yeah.
And I know that some of the drivers have said that they're willing to sign waivers, signing over and waiving off all liability for the FIA. And I get that, but that's not what the FIA is concerned about. They're concerned about player safety.
Yeah.
Is the ultimate goal. So I think there has to be some middle ground struck between this. That players should be allowed to wear a piece of jewelry or 2 pieces,
Right.
whatever it is,
Find a
something simple.
compromise.
You know, it's like in food service kitchens. You can wear like a 1/4-inch thick wedding band, no earrings, no watches, but you know, a small chain necklace is acceptable.
Yeah.
I think the FIA should look at that as an example and take that as a lead.
It can come to a resolution.
All right, guys. Well, that is all the time that we have for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Fresh Pulls, Fresh Sports Hour. Appreciate all of you. Burt, who's not in the room. Me, Tony Rotten.
See you guys next week.
There he is.
There he is. Certified T,
Always gotta get
Responsible
in there.
Rob. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you stopping by, and we out.